And we meet again. Yes, this is Rob Ryder, and this video is my request for service, attempting to answer the who, what, when, where, why, and how. And the who was my U.S. representative. The what was my request for service. I want him to do something for me because I'm his constituent, and that makes him my agent and attorney. When? Well, I sent it out on Good Friday, as a matter of fact. And the where is to his district office. So every U.S. representative has a district office, or he could have more than one. But, you know, it's the thing that's in where you are, not him in D.C. It's we're all in a district. We're all in a congressional district of one kind or another. And the territorial boundaries of this district pretty much follow the territorial boundaries of the congressional townships that were first surveyed back when everything was still a territory, before there were states. And myself, I don't believe there's states anymore. There may have been. They went bankrupt, and everything reverted back to the territory, to the federal government. And so the Congress actually has jurisdiction over the local and the national law, because there is no local law, right? They're not doing anything, and that's why I spent 200 videos looking at it and say, well, shit, these people don't do the stuff it says here. It does say it. They're not doing it. Oh, they're not actually even holding the office. They don't have an oath. They don't have a bond. I'm not going to argue with it. I'm going to say, well, okay, they're not the government. But somebody must be, or we wouldn't be here. Right? Somebody's holding the ship together. It may leak a bit, but thank God. You know, someplace God has his saints. And we're going to go. So I'm going to go try to find a saint. Why? Well, because I want to find a saint. And the how is what the video is about. The actual, what it was said, and how it was said, and how it all happened. So, and this is Holy Saturday, the day before Easter, April 4, 2015. Let the vigil begin. Of course, the rising of Christ. And with that in mind, we adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Amen to that. All right. So while he's down in hell, getting the keys from the devil. Well, he's already done that, but that's what happened at this time. He's given us the power to cast out demons on earth. And so how are you going to do that? Well, I'm going to try to do it with paper. Spirit-filled paper. Right? That's the idea. So let's look at what we're going to need here for this. You're going to want to go, maybe, if you want to follow along, to the Office of Congressional Ethics. Right? It's the oce.house.gov. And if you go under About, you get this list here about, that's the wrong one, laws, codes, and rules. The board and staff is interesting. I think you should read the people who are on the board and staff. But there's two documents, the False Statements Act and the House Ethics Manual, that are going to show, at least to me, somebody who's used to reading manuals. I spent 10 years in the Army, 5 years working at nuclear power plants, which are really just run by the nuclear Navy. I can tell you everything in the government's done by a manual, right? If you don't follow the manual, if you don't follow a procedure, you could be court-martialed. You could be shot on the spot. So they take it quite serious, right? So the problem is we're going to these people that are, they're deep into the crime, and they're not going to help you. But if there is a thin blue line someplace, well, when you find that saint who's been put there by God, so that when you bring your paperwork to him, it gets through, well, that just takes a little bit of faith. And I'm a faith-filled man. I believe that's exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to make him do it. So in this House Ethics Manual, which this is what it looks like, if you go to the section that deals with casework. And to make it easier to see, which is, page 311 of a 456-page document, but I think the actual page number is 299, right? 299. Where it says that an important aspect of House members' representative function is to act as a go-between or conduit between the members' constituents and administrative agencies of the federal government. He's your agent, right? I'm sure you can say that's the definition of an agent. The Constitution guarantees all citizens the right to petition the government for redress of grievances. A logical point of contact is one's elected representative. I don't disagree. Furthermore, members of Congress continually must monitor government programs and the administration of public laws. It's his duty to make sure the public laws are being followed within his district. And the way he's going to know one isn't being followed is because you're going to bring it to his attention. Outstanding. As the Supreme Court has recognized, serving constituents and supporting legislation that will benefit the district, lowercase district, and individuals and groups therein is the everyday business of the legislature. It's his job to do it. Now, over the last month, we've tried numerous ways and attempts to get information out of the legislature, but most of it was focused at the state. But as it turns out, I'm just going to say they're not there. I'm going to go to my U.S. congressman. Because at the state, if all the offices have been vacated, and then it's not that the state doesn't exist, there's just nobody holding office. Everything has reverted back to the federal government. Because when you go to a court today, it's not the state court. It's a county court. And they're going to do everything they can to keep it in the county. But once they write the piece of paper, you're going to have to pay something for their system to work. They could dismiss, they can't discharge. They can't say you're not guilty. They might say you're not guilty and give you a real small fine and then hope you go away. But, of course, a not cancels out and you are guilty. That just happened to Roe here recently, and it's a hilarious situation, like 3 hours in court for quite the dog and pony show. After a year and a half of submitting different pieces of paper for what was no more to start out with than a disorderly conduct at the worst, right? Which should have been, at the worst, a $35 fine. But instead, it ended up being a boondoggle through all of Kane County to the state, to every agency, saying, hey, these people aren't using their proper name. That's what came out of all that. So it's like wonderful, wonderful lesson. Over a $35 fine. So the moral of the story is, a year and a half ago, this very, I don't know what you would, I guess I don't know her, right? But she's the county recorder for Kane County. Sandy Wegman, I think, is her name. And, she runs the ship. And she got mad at Roe for asking too many questions and decided she was going to teach Roe a lesson and have her arrested. And a year and a half later, Roe hasn't seen her, basically. Hadn't been back to the office for a year and a half. Told you can't go there anymore, or we'll arrest you. She sees Sandy in court, and Sandy looks a hell of a lot older. And when she gets on the stand, she is afraid to say anything. Nevertheless, all this being done, and Roe being told by her public defender, we're going to, it'll be not guilty, and Roe says, well, I want not guilty. And the public defender says, well, we can't do that. The county would have to pay you. Right? I mean, they're not lying to her, but what they're going to do is they're backing themselves out of this as far as they could and hope that Roe pays the 10% of whatever the fine was. You know, I don't know what it would be now, $100 or something like that, I guess, which she's already paid, so they're just be giving her a refund less 10%. Right? And if she can agree to that, and if she will agree to that, then the county gets what they wanted. You know, it cost them a lot in the background, but at least in the front, they're still this facade that they're the government. But they're not the government. None of these people are elected. You know, it's like, unless you consider being in somebody's corporation the government, and we don't have to be. So we need to get the administration of public laws, because they're simulating a legal process using color of law, and that is a civil rights violation, which is a crime against the administration of public laws. I don't know how I got way out of that, but I did. That's the problem with this stuff. So, anyways, that's the good thing about this manual. This is what tells you it's his job. But it gets better. Right? If we go deep enough in here, we'll get to this committee is of the opinion that members of the House of Representatives, either on his own initiative or the request of a petitioner, may properly communicate with an executive or independent agency on any matter to request information, urge prompt consideration, arrange for interview or appointments, express judgment, call for reconsideration of an administrative response which he believes is not supported by established law, federal regulations, or legislative intent. Right? You take him your complaint. Complain about what they're doing. Forget what they said you did. You know, hey, this attorney isn't using his name that's on his license. That's color of law. That's covered by the Civil Rights Acts. And for these people here we're going to be talking to, now, you know, you're going to be talking to a counter troll that this could all be new to. And they're going to tell you, well, you know, we can't get involved in court cases or whatever, right? We had separation of powers. That's their one line they've been given to work with. We got separation of powers. Somebody talks about court, well, we got separation of powers. Well, you want to be able to say, well, nay, nay, nay. On page 311 of your ethics manual, it says, under communicating with courts, just as they are asked to intervene with agency officials responsible for making on-the-record decisions, members may also be asked to communicate with judges in pending cases. Absolutely, he can do it. Most courts are subject to limits of ex parte communications, which, again, ex parte means off the record in this case. It showed it up earlier, what ex parte was. He can only contact the court in his official capacity on the record. And that's exactly how we want him to communicate with them. Judges, whether serving at federal, state, and municipal level, are charged with performing their duties in an impartial manner. They are guided in their actions by standards such as the following. A judge shall accord every person who has legal interest in a proceeding, or that person's lawyer, the right to be heard according to the law. The judge shall not initiate, permit, or consider off-the-record communications or consider other communications made to the judge outside the presence of the parties concerning the pending or impending proceeding. Shall accord every person who has a legal interest. Well, your congressman represents you, so he has a legal interest if there's a claim against you. Whether a member believes it necessary to attempt to affect the outcome in a pending case, the member has a variety of options, right? Necessary to attempt to affect the outcome in a pending case. Well, I guess they can get involved in court cases then. A member who has relevant information could provide it to the parties' counsel, who could then file it with the court and notify all parties. Alternatively, the member could seek to file an amicus brief, or amicus curiae, or friend of the court brief. Yet another option in an appropriate case might be to seek to intervene as a formal party to the proceeding. A member could also make a speech on the House floor or place a statement in the congressional record as to the legislative intent behind the law. A member should refrain, however, from making an off-the-record communication to a presiding judge, as it could cause the judge to recuse from further consideration of the case. So make sure it's on the record. Come in your official capacity. And tell the judge, I'm watching this case, and if you don't do it properly, I'm going to have your ass impeached. When a member does have personal knowledge about a matter or party to a proceeding, and they're going to have personal knowledge of you because you're going to give it to them. So they're going to have personal knowledge of a party to a proceeding. The member may convey that information to the court through regular channels in the proceeding. By submitting answers to interrogatories, being deposed, or testify in court. The member can go testify in your court case. And they're going to tell you, well, they can't get involved in court cases. So obviously they can, right? This is the power of reading this and knowing this. Members and employees who should also be aware that special procedures are to be filed whenever they receive a subpoena seeking information, and that they should contact the House Office of General Counsel, which they should, and we should tell them. You should contact the House Office of General Counsel if you have any questions, and explain why they're there for them to be used. Because what these people are going to do on the phone is they're going to go talk to the attorney they've been told to talk to, just like in the county. Well, we got to send that to the state's attorney, or we got to send it to the prosecuting attorney's office, or whatever they got to do, and they come back with an attorney's answer to your attempt to get something done in a clerk's office. And it's not the attorney's business what happens in the clerk's office. The clerk was elected to the office. It's the clerk's business to take care of the business of the office. But that isn't what they do. And so, we're just going to tell them, well, you can't do whatever you used to do is no longer acceptable. I'm not accepting that. I'm going to tell you, according to your ethics manual, blah, blah, blah. And according to this was the other thing that was on that page, right? It was the False Statement Act, they called it. Public Law 104-292. Now, remember, it said that the congressman has a duty to administer the public law. So he has to administer Public Law 104-292. That's his jurisdiction. Being enacted by Senate and House Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, the act may be cited as the False Statements Accountability Act of 1996. And it's actually Section 101 of Title 18, United States Code. Now, see, this is the way they don't put 18 U.S.C. 101. They put Section 101 of Title 18, United States Code. That's probably the proper, what would you call that, style that you're supposed to call things. And a lot of it is things that we don't do. We don't use the proper style, and we don't pay attention to the style. And I tell you right now, if you don't pay attention to the style and the name of the court, you're not going to understand that the court they're sending you to on the federal level isn't the Article 3 court. Or in any court case, if you look hard enough and get enough of the paper, you're going to find they're actually talking about two different courts. Got two different names going in the same court case. But only a few pieces for one, and maybe only one, right? But there's one or two someplace. It just seems like the ones I've seen, you can always, once you know to look for it, it's there to be seen. Okay, so anyways, this is a very powerful public law, because except as otherwise provided in this section, whoever, in any matter, within the jurisdiction of the executive, legislative, or judicial branch of the government of the United States, knowingly and willfully, 1. Falsifies, conceals, or covers up by any trick, scheme, or device a material fact, right? So an omission, basically, that's a false statement. That's huge. Now you can get it for not doing something, for not paying attention to you. Makes any material, false, fictitious, fraudulent statement or representation, right? So now if they speak a lie, well, that's a false statement. Here, if they didn't say anything and concealed the truth, it's a false statement. Number 2, if they do say a false statement, if they lie, it's a false statement. And number 3, makes or uses any false writing or document knowing the same to contain a materially false, fictitious, or fraudulent statement or entry. If they write it a false statement, it's a false statement. And this is what we have them for, because all their paperwork is full of false, fictitious statements. Right? The plaintiff in a foreclosure, it wasn't the bank to start with that was supposed to be your lender, but even the name that's in the box as the plaintiff isn't the name of a bank. You can't take that name and find a certificate of good standing for it. It doesn't exist. It's an unregistered assumed name. That's a false statement. And you just violated this federal law. Public Law 104-292, which the frickin' congressman is supposed to, it's his job to administer the law. Where was it? Where was it? Sorry. Very first page of casework. Very first page of casework. So that's page 299. Members of Congress continually must monitor government programs and the administration of public laws. Well, bingo. This one ain't being administered properly because the paperwork they're giving you has errors and omissions on it. If somebody who has a license, and on that license it has a particular name, more than likely their proper name, or their legal name, which is just the all caps version of the proper name. Your proper name is, Robert Allen Rytlewski. That's my proper name. Proper case, the way I was taught in first grade. Right? My legal name is Robert Allen Rytlewski. That's all caps. But that's a business. Right? That's the name of my Ponderosa. It's my estate. And it has accounts. All that's my property. Other people run from all caps. That's my fucking property, man. I want it back. And if you look at it otherwise, well, I don't care what you do next, you're wrong. Right? If you don't say that it's yours, you're wrong. Okay, so this goes on to say this is the stuff that is this the same one, 292? Is that another one? Yep, 292. Anyways, you don't need to get past this part right here. So all I need to say is that they're violating the False Statements Act. Or, this act may be cited as False Statements Accountability Act of 1996. And so, like on my Social Security account card, I have the stub. And on the stub, it says the name is on the other side of the card. Right? The owner of the my name and account number on the other side of the card. And when I turn the card over, it has Robert A. Rytlewski. Right? Mom and Dad didn't give him a middle initial name. Right? I don't have, my name isn't A, it's Allen. And so that's a false statement. Well, that's why I'm going to say that the Social Security presented a false statement. All right. Okay, so all that just to say here's some things you're going to want to be able to find. And you're going to find those on this website here, Office of Congressional Ethics. And you're going to send them to, when you get your paperwork together, what you want to go find is this guy here. Your version of, right? So, Justin Amish is the 3rd District of Michigan, right? That's the congressional district. And in that congressional district, under local agencies, where it says federal courts with jurisdiction over the 3rd District, it's the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Michigan. U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the Western District of Michigan. Go look at your paperwork if you have a federal case going and see if the word for the is in the name of the court. If it isn't, then you're not in the Article 3 court. I talked about that in great detail in the last video I did, so I'm not going to go into it too much more. But this is just a quick overview of things that you might want to have available. And then the other one is to know that this place exists. This is the U.S. House of Representatives Office of General Counsel, where it says, "Welcome to the Office of General Counsel of the U.S. House of Representatives. The OGC provides legal advice and assistance to members, committees, officers, employees of the House without regard to political affiliation on matters related to their official duties." And we just looked at what they were according to their ethics manual. So, right, we got legal issues. They need to go to these people to get an answer. Not to the attorney that they want to go to. No, you want them to take it to the Office of General Counsel. So you might as well tell them to do it. The OGC represents members, committees, officers, employees, both as parties and witnesses in litigation arising from and relating to the performance of their official duties and responsibilities. Well, those are, to me, the constituent. This is my attorney. This is my Solicitor General for all courts at all levels, which it will tell you about in 12 U.S.C. 5571, where it says, shall be entitled, for the purpose of performing the counselor's functions, to enter an appearance in any proceeding before any court of the United States or of any state or political subdivision thereof, without compliance with any requirement for the admission to practice before such court, except that the authorization conferred by this subsection shall not apply with respect to the admission of any such person to practice before the United States Supreme Court. Because the United States Supreme Court is the only court that is called out for in the Constitution, then it has a Solicitor General of its own. But these folks at the Office of General Counsel can go to any court at any level and put in an appearance. I believe that would get somebody's attention. Especially if they're coming on your behalf. I think your chances are pretty good that if you could get them to go on your behalf to a court, that you're going to get a remedy that you can live with. All right, because we're not vindictive. We just want them to stop. That's how Jesus wants it done. Right? He just wants us to make them stop peacefully. Right? So we're going to be peacemakers. We're not peacekeepers. We're the peacemaker. I'm going to make you go to peace. Even if it means you got to have a timeout, man, they're going to take your ass to jail. That's up to you. But you're going to stop doing what you're doing. Is I'm going to find the one jurisdiction that is there for the people, and when properly activated, will work just like it was intended from the time the system was first created. It just hasn't been used. All right. Now, all that to say, here's what I did. So, if you go on your representative's website, you'll find a form or something that you can download, or you can email them for it, or they have one online they want you to fill out. But I really didn't want to fill out the one online. I wanted to have a hard copy, right? So it's called a Request for Service and Privacy Act release, and I'm requesting service, right? So this is how, right? So the guy's got a Washington office and he's got a Grand Rapids office. So, in accordance with the Privacy Act, I hereby give consent to the release of information to the Office of the United States Representative Justin Amish. So I'm not doing it as a power of attorney. I'm doing it per an act. And then, you fill it out. So full name. Well, I always have a question because I'm always, what is a full name? I'm not really sure what that is. I know what my proper person is. So I just put my, Robert Allen Orlowski, proper person, and ask the question, what is the definition of full name? My address. Because your all caps is your business, and it's what actually has, in my opinion, that's what your house address is. It's the address of your business. right? So I'm care of, my all caps, at my street address, Rockford, Michigan, and I like to go all the way down to them. It's actually a 12-digit zip code, but there's a digit in there that I don't know if it's a 0 or a 1, but there's supposed to be another digit in there. But the last two digits are the last two digits of your house number. And that identifies right down to your mailbox, basically. Right? So that's your post office box right there. That's your extension of the post office. Phone number, court record, social security number. Yeah, I guess that's what they asked for, so just to make sure. So briefly explain the problem. Right, so this is all they give you. It's a one-page form. They don't give you much room to write your problem is. Briefly explain. So Representative Amish. I, Robert Allen Rutluski, am my proper person, accept your oath of office, bind you in your official capacity, remind you of your duty to us, your constituents, and thank you for your service. Since my birth, errors, omissions, false statements, and unconstitutional actions of alleged civil officers have adversely affected my private rights of life, liberty, private property, for which I now seek an equitable remedy. See additional pages. That's all I'm asking for. I think, people in certain offices have made mistakes in my paperwork, and I'd like to have it corrected. Government agencies involved, most of them. Social Security Administration, medical claim number. Well, they have no claim. See, right now, Social Security has put my Social Security account in the name of Robert A. Rutluski, not Robert Allen Rutluski. That was the first error. Or early error. I won't say it's the first error. The first error is when you were born. And in Michigan, within 5 days, the local registrar has to have registered your birth. And when I look at my certificate of live birth, it says he didn't get it until 13 days after my birth. Obviously not within the 5 days. Now, I'm not going to say that that's the error everywhere. I'm going to say that's the error here. But if you look at the paperwork and read what it says in the laws, their law, you're going to find an error. So anyways, branch of service, Army of the Lord. That's the branch I'm in. Anyways, but I did spend 10 years in the Army. So I'm okay with this, right? Here's what we're down to. This is all good against evil, and you're going to have to put on your spiritual armor and go out and fight the devil. That man sitting across from you, or the one you're writing the stuff to, he's not your problem. He is in the image of God and likeness. What happened is he allowed himself, by his own free will, to allow his thoughts to be influenced by the devil. You may say he's been possessed. And we, in the Army of the Lord, are here to do an exorcism on him. Cast out the demon. Scare. We're going to put the fear of God in them. That's all we're going to do. Oh, they're not going to play that game anymore. And if we do it properly and go to the right office, well, there's going to be a saint there, and that frickin' saint is going to do what God put him there to do. Hallelujah. Praise God. Date and place of birth. Man, did I make a mistake on my birth date? No, 1958. I got it right. County, Bay City. Now, this came right off of my certificate of live birth, where it says the place of birth is County, Bay City, Bay Osteopathic Hospital. That's the place of birth. Alien registration number. I don't have one. I'm a national of the United States by birthright. So that's how I filled out this one-page document. But then you get to the bottom that I request and authorize United States Representative Justin Amish and the members of his office to act on my behalf. Forget the rest and receive information, right? But to act on my behalf and to receive information from proper officials regarding the matter described above. United States Representative Justin Amish and his members of his office are authorized by me to receive on my behalf all correspondence and information about my case. All right, so this should get a case number because they call it casework. So, I don't know that I asked for a case number, but I will be. Um, and then, please return this completed form to. Right, so I just sent it to his office in Grand Rapids, just like it says right there. Now signed. I believe your signature is your proper case name printed out personally, and your scribble that we call a signature is really your seal. It's your mark, right? So when I sign it, I try to remember to do it by printing my name and not printing the all caps name, printing the proper case name, which is kind of hard for me. And then I put my scribble on top and then put the word seal behind it and say that's my seal. Okay, so that was that form. So this, and then I said I was going to write some more, which of course I did because that's what I do. Continuation for request. So, others and I are victims of the deprivation of our private rights of life, liberty, private property, without benefit of final judgment from any Article 3 court in the matter, which is unconstitutional. These agencies, courts, tribunals, and other entities are the creation of acts of Congress, and their disregard and maladministration of the federal law reflects badly on you and the government you represent, requiring your immediate attention on behalf of your constituents. By use of false statements, officers, agents, employees of these entities are enforcing the disappearance of my proper person, and then claim the right to administer my properties during my alleged disappearance. Evidence of their deceit is provided for you from me in a copy form by certificate of live birth, certified copy of record of birth, Social Security stub and account for my account numbered, passport book omitting status as citizen national of the United States, certificate of baptism for member Robert Allen Rutluski. The certificate of live birth, certified copy of record of birth, evidence my live-born record was not registered in the Office of the State Register according to some arbitrary standard in legislation. The certificates on these instruments indicate that the record never made it to the State Register, and they're still remaining with the clerk for the County of Bay. When you read the certificate that's on these documents, it says the record's remaining in their office. Well, if they have it, then the State Register never got it. This defect in registration of a vital record contributes to the denial of my birth rights. I attempted contacting the Office of State Register twice regarding this matter, as well as Kenneth Schmidt, the alleged Chief Judge, the 18th Circuit for Michigan, asking for the return of my records. These attempts has also been met with silence. Should have been have. Yeah, I'm not very good with the English language. Representative Amish, take judicial notice that concealing a material fact is a violation of the False Statements Accountability Act of 1996, Public Law 104-922, House Resolution 3166. Okay, just copy and paste right off there. I contacted them. They didn't contact me back. That's a false statement. I also include copies of my Social Security account stub and United States of America passport book, both evidencing false statements from federal agencies. The Social Security account stub and passport are both lacking any indication of my proper person. Robert Allen Rutluski, my proper person. My Social Security account credits a fictitious named donor, Robert A. Rutluski, and my passport fails to identify my proper person as a citizen national of the United States. Representative Amish, take judicial notice that concealing a material fact and false written documents are violations of the False Accountability Act of 1996. All right, so in that case, the paperwork itself is a false act. Where the judge and the office didn't respond, well, that's a false act by omission. I contacted the Social Security Administration about reviewing the records, and based on their non-answer reply, I submitted a complaint to the Attorney General Office for the Social Security Administration. To date, there has been no attempt on the part of the administration to remedy this situation, nor sign of any investigation. Past attempts to resolve my status as a national of the United States have been unsuccessful, and I have been left stateless in the eyes of nation states. You're not a U.S. citizen. Don't worry about it. Your account is. You're all caps as a U.S. citizen, but you're not, because you were never properly registered at birth. And if you have a passport, it'll prove to you that you're not a U.S. citizen, or that you're not a national or U.S. citizen. Because on the page where it's above where your signature is, it says herein named national U.S. citizen of the United States, and there's no name herein. It's a passport book. Where your picture is, that's the cover. But the first page is the page that says herein. So from herein there into the book should be the name of the United States citizen / national. No, actually, citizen / national of the United States is what it says. And you're not on there. I showed that in my last video. I may show it again. But anyways, continuing on. Take judicial notice. The United States of America is signatory to the Treaty on Protection of Artistic and Scientific Institutions and Historic Monuments, the Roerich Pact, which states in Article 1, the historic monuments, museums, scientific, artistic, educational, cultural institutions shall be considered as neutral and as such respected and protected by belligerents. Not from belligerents. The fucking belligerents need to protect them. The same request and protection shall be due to the personnel of the institutions mentioned above. The same respect and protection shall be accorded to the historic monuments, museums, scientific, artistic, educational, cultural institutions in times of peace as in times of war. So technically, if you join your library and you have a library card, that's a cultural institution, and it's protected by this treaty that the United States of America is a signatory to. However, for myself, Representative Amish, take judicial notice of my included certificate of baptism. I am reborn a citizen of the kingdom of heaven here on earth, evidenced by my certificate of baptism that my proper person, Robert Allen Orlowski, is a personnel of the Universal Church, the world's oldest cultural institution, and as such I am to be protected in accordance with the previously mentioned treaty. You could say that with your library card. If you want to try to sell that instead, go ahead. By this same baptism, I also claim citizenship in the Holy See, believing that only because of clericalism has my citizenship not been acknowledged, properly recorded, and registered. I was commissioned in an office in the Universal Church by the Lord, my Lord Jesus Christ of Nazareth, and I accepted the same. I'm in need of a memorial to the event and the instruments of my office. I've made numerous attempts to resolve this error that will till now have been met with silence. It appears that Vatican City State has not received my sacramental records to prove my confirmation as a full Christian initiate in accordance with canon law. For the record, I believe that by birthright I'm a citizen of the Holy See, a national of the United States, and Social Security account, my all caps, with account number, my number, is my private property, and I am to be protected by belligerents as required by treaty. Representative Amish, take judicial notice. I seek a complete remedy in equity, recognizing my Holy Ghost dwelling in my earthen vessel, Robert Allen Orlowski. I declare that the statements above are true to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief. Again, signature, proper case name printed out, and my scribble on top, the seal next to it. All right, so that, in a nutshell, after 3.5 years, that's what I came up with is my way to get out of the system, or my latest attempt. I did give them one other piece of paper, plus the records. Good, all that stuff is here. But I wanted, I sent this along just because, this isn't an envelope, right? So it's not, the Congress, it's not going to the congressman, it's going to his office, and some countertroll is going to open the mail. And so I wanted to give him some constituent sources of authority. Representative Amish, by the grace of God and communal effort of his faith-filled children, numerous errors, omissions, false statements, and unconstitutional acts of civil officers have been identified and recognized as adversely affecting our civil status and private rights. It's all about your private rights. That's what the Constitution protects. You really don't want anything under the Bill of Rights because those rights were given to you by Congress. Those are public rights. It's your private rights that are protected by the Constitution, or the Constitution protects, but your private rights were actually in the Declaration of Independence, for which the Constitution was created to protect. You're up in the Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. You and your office represent the correct jurisdiction for us to bring our grievance, have our status corrected, and see our property returned to its rightful proprietor. The House Ethics Manual, which we looked at, provides ample evidence of the expected assistance of our elected representatives and their staff. The Constitution guarantees all citizens' right to petition the government for redress of grievances. A logical point of contact is one's elected representative. Furthermore, members of Congress continually must monitor government programs and the administration of public laws. The Supreme Court has recognized serving constituents and supporting legislation that will benefit the district and individuals and groups therein is the everyday business of the legislature. Then this wonderful passage from page 311 of the manual: when a member believes it necessary to attempt to affect the outcome of a pending case, the member has a variety of options. A member who has relevant information could provide it to the party's counsel, who could then file it with the court and notify all parties. Alternatively, the member could seek to file an amicus curiae, or friend of the court, brief. Yet another option is, in an appropriate case, might be to seek to intervene as formal party to the proceeding. The manual goes on to suggest that staffers to officers seek legal advice from the Office of General Counsel of the U.S. House of Representatives for legal matters falling within your official duties, stating on their website, the OIG website, provides legal advice and assistance to members, committee officers, and employees of the House without regard to political affiliation on matters related to their official duties. That's all we're giving them. We're giving them their official duties and telling them, now you need to go here because it's your official duty. The OGC represents members, committees, officers, and employees, both parties and witnesses, and both as parties and witnesses in litigation arising from or relating to the performance of their official duties and responsibilities. Both parties and witnesses in litigation. Well, if you're not a witness, it makes you a defendant. All right, so that's your time. You can be a witness or a defendant, but the OGC will be involved. Their assistance may be required as part of your inquiry into the unconstitutional deprivation of my private rights by the enemies of God and providing me a complete remedy and a complete equitable remedy. Please utilize their expertise. I'm trying to, I'm throwing them a carrot, man. I don't want to have to take it to the Ethics Commission. Give me my property back. Okay, and again, this is the stub, right? And it says here that detach this portion from the upper half of the card and keep it in a safe place. Your name and Social Security account number appear on the other side. Well, that ain't my frickin' name, man. No. You're not going to get away with that. I challenge that, and they won't send me the record. And so I put a complaint into the Inspector General of the Social Security Administration that the Social Security Administration has stole my frickin' identification. And I hadn't heard. Well, now I'm taking it to my congressman, right? I've exhausted my administrative remedies. And then on your passport, the Secretary of State of the United States of America hereby request all whom it may concern to permit the citizen national of the United States herein named herein to pass without delay or hindrance, and in case of need to give all lawful aid and protection. And right here in this space, I believe it should have printed Robert Allen Rutluski, so that it would be herein, because here's my signature. Again, I probably should have signed it, Robert Allen Rutluski. I didn't know that at the time, but I wasn't named herein. Right? Where's the name? And this page, this is the book. It's the, inside of the book cover. It's part of the cover. It's not part of the book. Well, it's part of the book, but it's the cover. And this says, so this is the first page of the book, and it says herein, and that would be from where it says herein to someplace further in the book. And it doesn't. And just real quick, this is where it says, certified copy of record of birth. I, Stephen Toth, clerk of the county of Bay and the circuit court thereof, the same being a court of record having a seal, do hereby certify that the following is a copy of a record of birth now remaining in my office. Well, why is the record of birth in the county clerk's office when it's supposed to be with the state registrar? I asked the state registrar's office, and they won't tell me. And I told them, well, here's my birth date, September 5th, 1958. Here's the place of birth, right? So this is where the information comes from, if you're wondering from the form I filled out. County, Bay City, full name of hospital or institution. Right? But it's all under the thing that says place of birth, number 1, A, B, and C. So September 5th, but date received by local registrar, way down here at the bottom, it says September 18th. Well, that's like 13 days. So, there you go, right? And again, certify that the following is a true copy of the above record now remaining in my office. The record is remaining in the clerk's office. None of this stuff went to the state registrar's office. All right. Now, having done this, then the next thing was, well, what are you going to do next? And that was, how are we going to mail it? And because of some things that I read in the past and looked at again, certificate of mailing. So, a certificate of mailing, let's get one to look at. Looks like this. That's the certificate of mailing. For individual letters, blah, blah, indicates that the letter was presented for mailing. The form must be presented to the USPS employee for examination at the time the letter is placed in the mail. The employee examines the form, ensures the proper fees are paid. Got different prices, blah, blah, blah. With certified mail, the amount paid for both postage and related fees are placed on the individual letter. With certificate of mailing, the mailing postage is affixed to the letter, but the postage for the appropriate fees is affixed to the certificate of mailing, which isn't a 3806. This is what some expert was supposed to have written. I think he got his things mixed up. It's actually 3817. 3806 is a registered mail form. But whatever the form is, so he called it the certificate of mailing. So they're going to stamp the certificate of mailing, which indicates the location, the date the letter was mailed, place an official stamp on each page, yada, yada, yada. And the USPS employee returns the validated receipt to the mailer. The main reason I wanted to point this out was many mailers are aware of a defect inherent in this form of mailing documentation. The Internal Revenue Service, for instance, recognizes this problem. The IRS asserts that a certificate of mailing with timely date is not evidence to them that a letter was timely sent to the IRS. A certificate of mailing and a letter to the IRS, both stamped at the same time, on the same day, at the same place, is considered proof when the addressee has the mailing envelope available for comparison against the sender's manifest. See, the question is the envelope part of the letter? Right? Because if you think back in the days of old, we're putting everything in envelopes, but we could just as easily trifold the paper and on the back put the address it's going to with the postage, and then the postage would be affixed to the letter. Right now we're affixing the postage to the envelope. So is the envelope considered part of the letter? And that would go along with, the UPU folks who, they wanted you to put a stamp on the back of your paperwork and cancel it out, write through it, all this kind of stuff. It's like, well, yeah, you could do that, or you could get the post office to do it for you. And quit using envelopes and just make sure the back page, whatever the last page is blank. Trifold it, buy some adhesive seals to seal it on the edge, and then put the information on the last sheet or page, because each sheet has 2 pages. So the last page of your document you would use as the place to put the address and the stamps. That's pretty cool. Okay, so this is what it looks like. All right, this is the new version, and so basically the from and the to, right? So Robert Allen Ratlewski, my address, care of, all caps, 10955 14 Mile Road, Rockford, Michigan, blah, 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 who I sent it to. To pay fee, affix stamps or meter postage here. So it costs $1.30. So there should be $1.30's worth of stamps here, or a metered sticker for $1.30, and then postmarked. Cancel the stamp. That's how they're supposed to do it. That's what it looks like. Now, Roe did one, and they didn't use quite that form, right? So this is a form from 2001. All right, so this one's from 2007. But it says affix fee here in stamps or metered postage and postmark. Inquire of postmaster for current fees. Well, he put a mark of some kind of seal. But is that the postmark? I don't know. What I know is here's the amount down here, and they didn't postmark over top of it. So technically, this is a false statement. So we just wanted to try and see what it looked like when we did it, and then read what the law said, and said, well, they're not doing it like the law says. Okay. It's good to know. I'm not saying we're not going to do it. Because what happened was, based on that, I went and where's mine at? This here. So this is out of some manual from the post office, which doesn't talk about the 3806. It talks about the 3817 certificate of mailing. That's why on the other one, I believe the guy was just incorrect in the form he was talking about. Certificate of mailing service is available only at the time of mailing and provides evidence that the mail has been presented to the Postal Service for mailing. So I really think that this is what you're supposed to use when you put something into the court case. When they say, to get a certificate of mailing. It's this. To show that you've mailed it. Not make something up yourself even if you get it notarized. No, go down to the post office and get a certificate of mailing done properly with the postmaster saying it. And I think it's how you pay I think that's how you pay the stamp tax. And make your document a lawful document. Legal, lawful, and we can, decide what that is. I'm just saying I think it takes it to the next level. It's the stamp tax. We're not paying the stamp tax. The stamp tax never went away. I did a few videos on it some time ago, and where's the stamp tax being paid? The revenue. All right, and your legal documents were considered something that had to have stamp tax on it. So, certificate of mailing service does not provide for a record of delivery, but it may pay the stamp tax. And the postage service does not retain copies of the form. The 3817. They don't keep this. They give it back to you. This is your receipt. It's your evidence that you gave whatever it is you said you gave to the post office. Okay, and then they got a book for doing, multiple ones or something like that. Fee paid for certificate of mailing does not insure the item against loss or damage. The Postal Service postmarks round dates. Right, so what is the Postal Service postmarks? Is it the thing that they used on Rose? Is that the Postal Service's postmark? I don't know. They must have one. They're talking about it. Right, so anyways, that's what we're going to find out. Well, what is the post office? And returns it to the mailer as the mailer's receipt. Excellent. Availability. Now, this is kind of interesting, too. A customer may purchase a certificate of mailing when sending the following. Postcards, right? Little cards of paper, postcards. And then, after that, unregistered first-class mail international items. Didn't say first-class mail by itself. It's first-class mail international. International first-class mail. Unregistered. Unregistered first-class package international. Service items international again. Free matter for the blind. Unregistered priority mail international. Ordinary uninsured priority mail international. Air mail M bags. Nowhere on there does it talk about a regular envelope going to somebody. Yet they did it for Rose. She just sent an envelope, mailed it to her husband at their home address from herself. And here's something interesting too. See, her zip code is 60174, and they're using the 60175 because her town's got 2 zip codes. She thinks, it looks like you're in 60174, but they're actually using 60175. And when she had her court case, the paperwork had down as her zip code 60175, even though on the on the post office it says 60174. They're running 2 post offices under one number. I don't really understand that completely, but it is what it is, right? We're just pointing out differences. But anyways, those are the A, B, C, D, E, F, G are the reasons you can get this thing, and none of them said a damn thing about sending a letter to somebody to your own home address. Everything is international. Oh, they must be, it's a different jurisdiction. Different jurisdictions, different lines in the sand, maps laid on top of each other. Which one are you on now, and which one do you need to be on to be in the jurisdiction that has the form of law that you can live with? A certificate of mailing cannot be obtained in combination with registered mail items. Okay. after mailing. To obtain a duplicate copy of the certificate of mailing, the mailer must present the original form. Right, so that would be this, or in Rose's case, the original form, and an additional certificate endorsed duplicate, or a copy indicating the original, or a copy indicating the original dates of mailing. Okay, duplicate. So I guess they're telling you write it out again, but it has to say when it was mailed somehow. Right, the original dates of mailing. The post office, the postal service postmarks round dates additional certificate to indicate current date. Fees, yeah, whatever the fees are. But anyways, I don't live close to the post office, and so what are you going to do? Well, to obtain a certificate of mailing service for individual pieces, and I just had one piece of mail, the mailer must present an eligible item for mailing. So that's 31121, which was these things here, right? Which, I don't know. They gave one to Roe. Mail it to her own address, so I'm going to say mine's eligible, to a post office facility. Period. For customers served by rural carrier service, the carrier obtains the certificate at the post office, attaches the stamps, obtains the postmark on the certificate on the day of the day of mailing, and delivers the certificate to the customer on the next trip. Right? So I took my envelope to the mailbox with an index card on which I had written, please provide me a certificate of mailing for this package or for this envelope. And it stuck $2 on there. And that was yesterday, so I went out, later in the day, and, well, the envelope was gone. And $2 and everything, so he took it with him. But today, there wasn't one in there. And now I'm thinking, okay, well, why would that be, right? Because they just not quick enough. I'm going to say, first of all, this is something that they don't do very often. And I know I did it once a couple summers ago at the post office, and the guy I was talking to hadn't done one in years. But he did what he was going to do, and we got it done. But I didn't know what it was supposed to look like, right? And when you read this, well, you're supposed to be attaching the right here. You're supposed to be attaching the stamps that make up the fee. Nothing to do with mailing. This is the fee. You pay the mailing, you put that on the envelope, and you pay the fee on here, and then they're supposed to cancel this or postmark it. And I don't know if that's a postmark stamp. What I do know is it isn't over the $1.30, which to me would mean that they're doing this, but it's a false statement. Now, Roe was just mailing hers to herself, but on mine it says it's going to a congressman's office. Well, I wonder if that made a difference. Right, Office of the United States Representative Justin Amish. Right, there's the address. That's what I had on the envelope. So, are they going to deny me a certificate? Are they not going to let me have this? And this says this form may be used for domestic and international mail. That's what I understand. See, the form says it can be used for domestic and international mail. But when you read the frickin' what it says it can be used for, a customer may purchase a certificate of mailing when sending the following: postcards, Unregistered first-class mail, international items. Unregistered first-class package, international service. Free matter for the blind. Unregistered priority mail, international flat rate envelopes. Or small flat rate price boxes. Ordinary uninsured priority mail, international parcels, including medium and large flat rate boxes. Air mail M bags. I don't know what an air mail M bag is. I didn't look that one up, but it doesn't say you can do an envelope. It says a postcard. Otherwise, it's all international. Unless, of course, a postcard is what an envelope is. What's the definition of a postcard? I was looking last night and said, well, it's pretty much what I thought it was. A little piece of paper. Picture on one side. That's how they normally look. But they're not all that way, but they're done as postcards. So I'm not really quite sure. I just know that this ain't following the law. And since I'm sending mine to a congressman's office, I don't think that they want to. I'm thinking well, maybe they didn't want to do this. I could be making more of it than it is, but it just wasn't. I went out there today and it wasn't there, right? And I wanted to have it to put in the video, and well, it isn't here, so I can't use it. But good stuff. So, anywho, that's what's going on. And I have sent what I said I was going to send to the place I was going to send it. And I don't know that there's anything else. Well, I think that's pretty much it that I wanted to cover. I just wanted to, again, a lot of this is just because I like to do a public record of what I've done, because I don't know who pays attention to this stuff. I know there's, a bunch of yahoos like me out here that are looking at things, but I don't care that they know what I'm doing. In fact, I'm happy they know what I'm doing. Happy, happy, happy. And I've done a lot of things I haven't really shared in videos because, that really isn't about me. They didn't work, so there really isn't any reason to talk about it so much anymore. But I've called them devil worshiping pagans and satanic sock puppets and, Freemason devil worshippers and, God, all sorts of stuff, man. Nobody said I was incorrect. Excellent. Don't be afraid of the devil. Find out where he is, man, and be on him like Alien. Let's go cast his ass out. We got some powerful tools here if we can just figure out how to use them, and this is one of them. This Office of General Counsel is, I wanted to show you one other thing in here, right? Shoot. Just a second, please. I don't know if this was where it was. No. Anyways, this takes you to another section, this 530D. There's where it was. Notification by Attorney General. Right? And unfortunately, these links don't work here. But it says that the Attorney General reports to the Office of the General Counsel to, if requested by the General Counsel, if there's a reason that the Attorney General or his staff or whatever aren't enforcing some laws. Is there some unconstitutional reason for them not enforcing a particular public law? And if they say, well, no, there's no reason, well, then I guess your guys are just, that's official misconduct then. So, we'll see how they like to play with that. Okay, I guess that's it. I'm done yakking. We'll see ya. Have a happy Easter. Lord's rising. Right, let's start the vigil. See ya.